गुड मॉर्निंग ब्रेकफास्ट वास्ते तुहाडा एक बारी फिर स्वागत है। आज सब तो पहले असी बधाई देना चाहांगे फादर्स डे दी। फादर्स डे वे अज साडे जिहड़े माँ प्यो ने, साडे जिहड़े पेरेंट्स ने, उन्हां दी वजह तो असी दुनिया दे विच आए और जो कुछ भी कीता उन्होंने सिक्ख्या सानू सब तो पहले दित्ती। सो लेट्स अडोर आवर फादर्स टुडे, मेक देम हैप्पी, enjoy this day and go out with your family, take your father out and have fun. इस तो अगे असी चलते हुए प्रोग्राम का आगाज़ करांगे जिहड़ा असी पिछले 2 वीक्स तो तुहानू दिखा रहे हैं कि पंजाबी प्रेस क्लब ऑफ कैनेडा क्वींस पार्क के दौरे ते गया। पहले असी तुहानू डॉक्टर मकिंटी जिहड़े प्रीमियर ने उन्हां दे नाल अपनी मीट एंड ग्रीट दिखाई, गलबात सुनाई। उस तो बाद NDP के जिहड़े लीडर ने एंड्रिया हॉवर्थ ते MPP जगमीत सिंह, उन्हां नाल पंजाबी प्रेस क्लब की मीट एंड ग्रीट दिखाई सैकेंड वीक। हुण थर्ड वीक असी तुहानू डिप्टी लीडर दे नाल सानू मिलन का मौका मिलिया। PC पार्टी की क्रिस्टीन एलियट जिहड़े ने उन्हां दी तुसी मीट एंड ग्रीट देखो, उन्हां दे नाल जो गलबात साडी हुई। I hope you enjoy this segment.
So thank you very much for coming and visiting us here in the caucus boardroom, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, I would just like to thank you for taking time out to meet us. This was actually started a couple of years back when the press club came and met, I believe, with John Tory, the leader. We met him in his office. We met NDP and the Premier at that time, and we found that practice was pretty beneficial to our members to get to know each other and your staff and everything. That's exactly why we arranged this one. I want to thank you for that opportunity that you've given us to meet us.
Great.
Certainly we wanted to meet Dem Hurek, but he was not available that you stepped up to the plate. Thank you very much.
Yes, well, I'm happy to do
your
so.
opening remarks will be fine at this point. I don't know if anybody would have a question after that, after the remarks, if you have prepared anything to say.
Well,
about your party, about the budget now being passed, or
Yes.
in 8 days you guys are going to have a sitting. First order of business is the budget vote, I believe. And
Yes.
What do you intend to do?
That's great. Well, we only have 2 more weeks of sittings once we come back after next week, and we are going to be continuing to speak about this budget and how we think that it fails the province of Ontario in the sense that it doesn't do enough to reduce the size and cost of government, that we need to get back to a balanced budget so that we can continue to make investments in important things like healthcare and education. And we also believe it doesn't do enough to spur private sector job creation. As you all know, we have about 500,000 people in the province of Ontario that don't have a job right now, and we think that much more needs to be done in order to allow businesses to flourish and thrive in the province of Ontario. So there are things like reforming the apprenticeship system. Our leader Tim Hudak has talked about that. We believe that the continuation of the corporate tax cuts needs to continue. That's one of the best ways in order to spur job creation, and that we need to continue to make investments in post-secondary education. So those are just a few opening remarks, but I'm sure you may have some more specific comments, and I know you don't have a lot of time. So, yes, sir.
How do you look at?
Oh, sorry.
How do you look at Liberals and NDP as strange bad partners?
Yes. Yes, well, I think that relationship is starting to unravel already. We've certainly seen signs of it in the House, and I think that there were some compromises that were made that probably weren't in the best interests of Ontarians. So we're going to continue to talk about the things that we believe are important, the things that I've just mentioned about cutting the size and cost of government and creating more private sector jobs. So whatever arrangements they have, we're concentrating on the fundamentals. Yes.
And it does go by the area code where it's higher, and that's
Yes.
Brampton. NDP seems to be taking the lead and creating a lot of awareness. What is your party standpoint on it, and what are you doing about it to create awareness or put a word out that if it's wrong or right?
Yes. Well, we know that continues to be a major issue in many parts of the province, particularly in the GTA area, that we believe that a lot of the high insurance prices, because they are high compared to the rest of Canada, relate to fraud. And so we would propose to have a special prosecutorial section of the Attorney General's office to talk about financial sector fraud. We believe that needs to be cracked down on. And we also believe that a lot of the health clinics need to be owned by recognized health practitioners, that's something that's going to be really important to keep some of those related costs down so that the insurance costs also can be kept down. So we've got several different ideas that we believe will make a significant difference in lowering the cost of auto insurance.
Talking to the general public, like town hall style meetings or public meetings, is that in your agenda, or you're just making secretive decisions and just making your own policy?
No, not at all. Actually, one of our new members, Jeff Urich, has been charged with that responsibility as our caucus member to take a look specifically at auto insurance and look at alternatives. So he is going to be consulting widely with the public and is going to be talking to people about their ideas about reducing the cost of auto insurance as well. So it's very much a public process.
Christine, when you address the auto insurance issue with the high premiums in Ontario,
Yes.
you know, I noticed one thing, that the Conservatives and the Liberals are on the same page. They're addressing the fraud part of that problem.
Mm-hmm.
When actually it's not the fraud is the problem, it's a high premium. It's insurance companies that they're hiking up the rates. Just if your one check is NSF, they hike it up. If you get a one small ticket, they hike it up. If you're late for one payment, they hike it up. They find faults in you in order to hike up your premium. If you ask around the table, everybody's insurance went up 200, 300% over a few years. Where the politicians only talk about the fraud part. Oh, we're doing the fraud. We're trying to cut down the fraud. Fraud is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, the hardest. NDP is the only party that is actually taking the bull by its horns, saying, no, it's insurance companies and their policies that needs to be addressed. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say that there are some administrative things where I would agree with you that probably we should take a look at and encourage the insurance companies not to charge some of those extra costs. But the fraud part of it is a real part of the problem because they have to charge premiums based on what the true costs are. When you've got a lot of fraud in the system, that's going to make the costs higher for everybody, and it will necessarily affect the premiums. But there's also the rehabilitation benefits and some of the other costs of treatments, rehab, and so on, therapies, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, all of those things, again, add up to the total cost. So I think that we need to take a look at it in its entirety and not just say, you insurance companies are just charging too much money. You have to look at the reason why they're charging so much, and there are a number of different components to it. You're right, administrative fraud, or administrative components are part of it, fraud is part of it, some of the health-related therapies are also part of it. So I think...
How do you ensure the fraud doesn't happen? It happens in the governments. We've seen, F-35's problem in a Fado. We've seen Orange e-health problems here in Ontario.
Yes.
How do you ensure fraudless practices by third-party insurance companies?
Well, I think you have to be diligent about it, and that's why we would have a special section of the Attorney General's office to look strictly at financial fraud and financial crimes. You have to really focus on that and make sure that that's a priority for you. We mentioned Orange. That's something where we have been really trying to get at the source of the problem and finding out what actually happened here. We haven't gotten much response from this government. In fact, they haven't been cooperating at all. We want to shine the light of day on it, so that's why we've been calling for either a select committee or an expanded responsibility of the Public Accounts Committee in order to get to the bottom of it. Because when you look at the new legislation that the government's brought forward, Bill 50, if you don't really know what the problem is, how can you purport to solve it by a piece of legislation? So we really need to get to the root of the problem in order to be able to deal with it properly. So I think we need to make it a priority and then give it the resources that they need in order to investigate it and find out what the true problem is so you can solve it.
In India, it is a third world country. Everybody gets the no claim bonus every year for insurance. So those who have no accident, no claim, their insurance is reducing. Yes. But here, the insurance is charged according to postal codes. Why the
Yes.
people are suffering in that code? Who have
Yes.
no claim, no part, their insurance is increased.
Yes.
Should the politician want that? Should they sell their houses from that area or go to somewhere else?
It doesn't seem fair, I would agree with you. Similarly, with a lot of young people, they get unfairly hit with extremely high premiums too. I have 3 21-year-old sons, and believe me, we pay a lot for auto insurance right now. So I'm very sympathetic to that, but I think that you need to have a process that is fair to everyone, and that's probably something that we should take a look at. Yes?
Okay, we are living in the Canada, right? In the Manitoba, Saskatchewan, they have the public insurance, British Columbia public insurance,
Yes.
and Quebec, they have the semi-public insurance. But over there, the rate is very low, premium rate. But why only in the Ontario they have too much claim? Because the claim, all the fraud done by the insurance company. Need to
Yes.
investigate this one. Okay, when any accident happen, the victims
Yes.
don't get anything, right? After 3-4 years, okay, one example, the family doctor is saying the guy could not able to work. The insurance doctor is saying, no, he is ready to work. Right?
Yes.
How much money? $1,500 per visit to insurance doctor. This claim coming to the victim who is paying the premium, right?
Yes.
How Ontario government issue the certificate to the insurance doctor, different certificate, or family doctor, different certificate? Both
Yes.
have the same qualification. Why all the government recognize to the insurance companies doctor?
Well, there's many different systems, of course, that you can employ. There are systems of public auto insurance in some of the other provinces. Ontario has chosen not to do that. So we still have sort of a hybrid system where we have some no fault, but we can still use the tort system to sue in the courts. We still believe that that is a way to deal with some of the more serious cases where personal injury has been sustained. But it's gone through many iterations over the years, as you probably know, since the early 1980s, I would say. So it's not perfect yet. I think we still need to refine it. Whether we should go to a system of public insurance, I wouldn't tend to agree with that. Some jurisdictions have chosen to do that. But I think that we do have some serious issues that we need to resolve here as well.
Madam, at the election time, your main slogan is the GST.
Yes.
HST. But right now is almost 1 year is gone, but anything
Well, we still, in the last election, of course, we did have some issues that we put forward regarding the HST, but I think right now what we're looking at is the big picture with the economy, and we're focusing on dealing with the deficit right now. We've got a situation that's gotten worse since the last election. We've got almost $16 billion deficit, which is set to double if we don't do something serious about it right now. And when you look at what's gone on in the rest of the world, particularly in Greece and some of the other European countries, we know right now that that's what we need to focus on, and we need to focus on job creation. So those are the priorities for us right now, and that's what we're speaking to the government about. That's what we're speaking about in opposition to the budget as well.
Last question.
My question is related to the legislative recognition of the Sikh articles of faith.
Yes.
We met through Pan Pundo,
Yes.
and then we have been communicating with your office, with Justin and Jim Zirup, and specifically the issue of motorcycle exemption for the Sikhs.
Yes.
Which has been a policy in other provinces. We mentioned to you in that meeting.
Yes.
You asked for more information, which we have supplied to your office.
Yes.
And still following up on it. So given this reality that me can do this and have this right in British Columbia but don't have in Ontario, given that I have the same right in Manitoba but not in Ontario again, how your party view this, what steps they are willing to take to sort of address this inequality when we have the same Charter of Rights and Freedom and same
Yes.
rights to all the citizens all throughout Canada. So given that work is still in progress in your office,
Yes.
what are your next steps you're willing to take and talk to address this inequality?
Well, I would say that we really appreciated the opportunity to have the meeting, and the study is still in progress. It is something that we recognize as a serious issue, and that we haven't had a chance to caucus that completely, but it is something that we know is a significant concern for many members of the Sikh faith, and that we want to make sure that we give a thorough study and understanding before we move any further with it, and we would hope to have the opportunity to consult with you further as time goes on.
That's it? Yeah.
So you're welcome to stay
Wonderful.
and have some coffee with us.
That's great
We'd
if you
like
have
to have
time.
actually a group picture if we can.
Oh, perfect.
Sure, let's